Hello guys, this is Muchi Kim and I will be doing a class on Introduction to Statistics, and my main aim of this class is to familiarize the students with the the measures of central tendency. Okay, so what we'll be looking at today is, we'll start with a table, a data set. I've got a table of 10 numbers and it's a fabricated list. So let's say there's a student called A and he did math test 10 times and these are 10 scores. Okay, and my question is, if for the student A, if he does the test the 11th time, what score can we expect from him? So that will be my question to start off with. So we are talking about something called expected value. Okay, so what is the most reasonable, let's say this, what is the most reasonable way to expect what this student might get in the 11th test? So first thing we might have to do is get these numbers, which are 72, 81. So let me just copy this table so into my Word document. Okay, so these are my 10 numbers: 72, 81, 49, 51, 52, 90. So there are 10 numbers. So what we do is, I'm just talking about the notion of total score. Total score, okay, divided by the total number of trials. That's what I want to do. Okay, so let's get to my list and see what it gives me. Okay, so here I'll use Excel. In a moment I'm going to demonstrate how it's done in the calculator that we use for our exams. But first, let me just do it on Excel because we are not here together. So I'll do equals, okay, sum of these 10 numbers, okay, and then divided by 10, okay, and it gives me a number of 63.9, 63.9. Okay, so what I mean by this number 63.9 is that's the average score of student A's 10 math tests. Okay, so once that is done, I can give it, let's say we're looking at the word average, okay, average. But what I want to be able to, for you to be able to do is, I mean, there are three ways, basically, three basic ways to call average in statistics. One, of course, is average. The other one is called mean. And another one is expected value, okay? The notion of expected value might be slightly complicated, so we won't be dealing with this terminology in our class. We'll be mainly referring to the term mean, okay? And mean is what I would like to call the first measure of central tendency. It's the most basic, okay, basic form of central tendency. And what do I mean by central tendency is just, you have a data set and you are measuring where is the center, okay? That's the question you are trying to answer. Okay, so let me just open up my slide. Okay, here it says, you will see central tendency, and I've got mean, median, and mode. There are 5 measures that we use for central tendency, but this class, I just want you to be familiar with the first 3, okay? Of course, if you want to know the 5, there is range and the quartiles that we need to focus. Maybe we will, because I mean, if I was just to teach you the formula and how to calculate, we could do this in 5 minutes, but that's not what I want from this class. What I want you guys to do is find what it means in real life. That's, as I said, okay? So I'm going to be reminding this from time to time as we go in the class. Okay, so what you want to do is first find the mean, okay, which we did. Median is the central value, okay, the central value, okay, and mode is the most occurring value, okay. So if we talk about mean, median, and mode, actually, let me make this easier. I'll turn the camera around. Okay, and let me go to the whiteboard. Okay, I had numbers 72, I've got 81, 49, 51, 52, 90, 72. I've also got 79, 72, 21. How many is that? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've got my 10 numbers, okay? As you just have seen in the test, in my example, what you do is mean is calculated by having the total number divided by the total number of trials, okay? Now, median is slightly different, okay? So median, I need to first, so in order for me to determine the median value, I need to first arrange my set of numbers from smallest to largest. Same with, no, not so much with mode, okay? It will be same with when we deal with quartiles and range in the next class, but today we'll just talk about the median. What is my smallest number here? 21. Okay, 21 is my smallest number. What's next? 21, then I see 51 and 52. I also see, oh sorry, it should have been 49, then 51, 52. Okay, so 21, 49, 51, 52. Okay, what's next? I've got 72s, 72, 72. I've got 3 72s. Okay, and then I've got 79, 81, and 90. So 71, 81, and 90. So here are my list. Here is my list of 10 numbers. What I want to do next is find which number is in the middle. Okay, how do I do that? If I simply, this is why it's best to, organize your numbers on a piece of paper from smallest to largest rather than doing it on top of your head. Okay, so by doing it this way, I can just go, first let me cross out the smallest and largest number and just be sequential and do it like this. All I have left is 72. Maybe I should have used the set of numbers that has odd numbers. That way I will erase my 5 and erase my next 5, delete those, and this middle number, the position. I'm talking about the position. Which one is in the middle when that data is arranged from smallest to largest? Okay, the middle number. But in the case when there is an even number in your data set, you just add those two numbers and get the mean value. Let's just briefly revisit what I mean by mean value. So mean value of what these two numbers are. Mean, as I said, it's the total divided by the n. Okay, so this is going to be good revision for us to quickly go back to what mean was. Okay, mean, I've got two numbers, so my n equals 2. What is my total? 72 plus 72. That gives us 144. Okay, of course it's obvious the two numbers are exactly the same, but I'm just trying to illustrate the process, and what this gives you is the number 72. Okay, so my median is 72. Okay, so before we get into any practice, one more central tendency that we want to talk about, which is the mode. Okay, so now we know what mean is, now we know what median is. Now, mode, okay? Well, I remember when I was a student, I always got confused with what mode meant, right? Mean and mode, median, because median, it's got the word medium inside, right? Middle. So I was sure I didn't forget, I never forgot this was the middle number, but mode and mean was kind of confusing. And the way I did it was I remembered the letters M-O, and I tried to remember the word most, okay? So mode just means most occurring number in a set, okay? So in this case, when we go back to our list, we had 1, 2, 3 72s, and all the other numbers occurred only once, okay? Of course, you might have a list in future when you do real data collection. You might have more than one modes, that's called bimodal and so on, but that's not something we want to worry about now. Usually when we do our basic questions, the examiners are only going to give us a simple list that only requires us to find one mode, or two at most, but we won't deal with that today. Okay, so my mode, most frequently occurring score was 72. Okay, so can I just go back to my screen and carry on with class? So what I want to talk about now is going back to my list of numbers. What I have managed to obtain is mean was 63.9. Okay, 63.9. And median was 72. Mode was also 72. Perhaps I'm just telling myself I should have fabricated a list so that I get my different numbers for mean and mode, but unfortunately that's what I came up with. So so let's just see what it means. So if we go back, 63.9 is the average score. So we can expect, remember this, the first document I showed you, we can expect him to get, 63.9 in the next test, okay? Because his average figure is 63.9. So this is a reasonable expectation, right? And what I mean by reasonable, I should probably add this and say statistically, okay? It's a statistically reasonable expectation. But what if I go back to my list and say, oh, he has scored 21, okay? This student on his 10th test got 21, so I expect him to get 21. Is this a reasonable expectation? Depending on who I'm talking to, depending on what kind of opinions we hold between each other. But if I expect him to get 21 because he got 21 in his last test, yeah, it's reasonable, but it's not, okay? I could say it is not a statistically reasonable expectation. What we want to do in this class, we're talking about statistics, so we want to know statistically reasonable expectation. But if I say, oh, yeah, if you ask me, let's say I said 60.39, but you say, no, I think student A is going to get 72. Okay, if you think this student's going to get 72, why so? Okay, because you can then say, oh, his median value is 72. That's the central value he gets, so I expect him to get 72. Fair enough. Statistically reasonable. Okay, so I will say yes. This is also a statistically reasonable expectation. What if I say 72 again, and my reason this time is, yeah, the mode. Mostly he gets 72. Then this again is statistically reasonable expectation. So there you go. Rather than just obtaining numbers by punching in the numbers in your calculator and obtaining values based on your accurate calculation, of course that's part of math. You need to do that, but in statistics you need to go beyond that and be able to explain in words what your numbers mean. Okay, so that's what we have just covered now. I'm just going to check how long we've got. I've only got 20 minutes for this class. I've got good 7 minutes to go, so I think we should actually look at application first, okay? That's what I want to do, application. So here, I'm going to read the investigation process for you. This is page 507 in your textbook. Okay, so let's read through this together. In this investigation, okay, you can use a graphics calculator. So we'll talk about graphics calculator now. That's a good time to do it. Okay, so here, consider the data gained from Ethan. We've got Ethan, he's a professional golfer. And this is, I think this, it looks like his driving distance. He's a big hitter, right? So he's let's see what he averages. Okay, so he's got all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 30 drives. Okay, we've got 30 drives, and he ranges from about 240 to 270. Looks like kindly this has been organized for us in order from smallest to largest. Okay, so what this is basically, we can't go over everything, and we're not in the stage of displaying data onto graphs. This is probably in about 2 classes we'll be doing this, but not today. Okay, so simply speaking, what I want you to think about is this average value, all these things. Okay, so what you can do is you can use a graphic calculator to actually, attain your values, because look at it, 244.6, 245.1, 248.0, so these are all decimal, although they are only on 1 decimal point, we've got decimal points, a larger set, compared to my list that I gave you in the beginning where there were only 10 numbers. Simple whole numbers, but this time we've got a much more detailed numbers with the set of 30 numbers. So that's a little too much maybe. So what you can do is this calculator that we use in class, right? I'm going to teach you how to obtain your mean values and median values and mode values using this calculator. So the first thing you want to do is go to menu number 2, stat, so press number 2, and it gives you a list that you can type in your numbers. So I have been working quite hard, so I have my own list, but I'm going to, give me 1 minute, I'm going to punch in all these numbers on the first list 1. So please go ahead and do so. What I want you to do now is press all these 30 numbers just on list 1, and I'll also do that too. Okay, so my second number. Okay, let's just try to save time. I'm up to my 11th number, okay, so that we can save some time on this. I've got my 11 numbers here, okay, and what you want to do is just follow my lead. So first, okay, I think just make sure what you press is here from the list there is something called calculation, which is F2 in your menu, okay, F2. First thing I want you to do is go to settings, and I'll just show you my screen here. This is it's the initial setting. When you get a calculator, this is how it's set, unless you have changed something. So you might have, who knows? And if you have a second-hand calculator, it might be different. But if it's not like this, I will go around and help you to do it. But that's what it should look like. Okay, then you press exit. If you press exit, it goes back. And then you press 1 variance. 1 variance just means my list 1, I want to know all the variables, okay? 1 variable, sorry, not variant, okay? So here is my list, and the first one where it says X bar, okay? X bar is your mean value. And kindly, this calculator also gives us, so if you go down with your arrow, you will find the part where it says med, that's median. And you also have mod, mod, that's mode. Okay, so no matter how big your list is, as long as you have a calculator, it's easy. Okay, and luckily for us doing ACT, AP, SAT, this is a calculator that has been authorized by College Board, so we are free to use this model. Okay, so that's the type of skill that I want you to gain. And again, let's just go and make sense of this table. So my mean value is 250.61. I'll just call it 250.6, okay? And my median value is 251.1, 254.4. Now this is, okay, guys, I think the exercise I initially had planned to do will be your homework, but what I want to do here now is write down his number and raise a very important question for our next class. Okay, so first thing I want to do is, let's see my golfer's mean. Ethan's mean was 250.6. His median value was, okay, his median value is 251.1. And what's Ethan's mode? Ethan's mode is 244.6. Okay, although I've only entered my 11 numbers, so bear with me if you don't agree with my number here. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about this. So I can say, if I go out to play golf with Ethan, I want to know, can I beat Ethan? Can I hit longer than him? Then I need to see, what can I expect? What will he hit? What number will he hit when he hits his driver? I can expect him to hit 250.6, I can expect him to hit 251, or I can expect him to hit 244, and all three expectations are statistically reasonable. Okay? But the question I want to ask is this. I've got my friend A, I've got my friend B. My friend A says Ethan is a long hitter, and my friend B says no. Ethan is not a long hitter. Okay? So the question I want to close this class with today is here. For student A and B, okay? Imagine if you were A. I asked both of you, A and B, okay? Give me a good statistical reason to support what you just claimed. So student A, will he use mean, median, or mode? Okay, if he wants to say what he said is statistically significant. And student B, will he use mean, median, or mode? Okay, so what I want you to think about here is, will they rely on the same central measure, or will they be different? If they are different, what will they choose? Okay, that's something I want you to think about. Okay? So, given that we didn't have enough time to cover or practice some questions, I'm going to set some homework, which is, please go to page 510, exercise 20b.1. So homework, okay, this file, I will make it neat, clean it up, and email it to everyone in the class. Okay, so I'm going to write down, let me choose some good questions for you to try. I'm going to make you try question 2, question 3, and question 10 is a good one. Okay, so we've got page 510, exercise 20b.1, questions 2, 3, and 10. Okay, so they're your homework. Okay, so please, before I close the class down today, I want to, sorry, it shut off before me. So what I want to re-emphasize is, yeah, you could make mistakes with numbers. Don't feel discouraged if your calculation is wrong. Of course, it is important, but what I want you to tell yourself is, if you are able to make sense of the numbers you obtain, explain what they mean in real lives, I think you've taken a lot from this class, and you are more than prepared to start off the next class. So let us be perfectly prepared, and please do your homework. Okay, that's it for me for today. Thank you for listening.